In today's video, I want to share 5 things that I think are important to know about before you buy them, so then you can make your decision whether they will be a dream art supply. I did 3 portrait studies in my last drawing video, and this time around I did these 2 eye drawings to then be able to share my knowledge with you in this video. If you're new here, hi, I'm Miwa. I'm a watercolor artist who's endlessly curious about what makes materials feel right. In this channel, I share experiments, art supplies that I'm interested in, and the honest process behind what actually works. Let's start with the number 1 thing, but this number 1 is not going to be included in the 5 things that I'll be sharing, so it's kind of like a bonus tip at the front. But number 1 thing that people seem to be asking me about is the drying time. Like, do they actually dry? And I think we as artists are kind of like skeptical now because we burned our money for all these art supply materials that they mentioned they dry and they don't. So first of all, they do. So oil pastels like Sennelier are made with non-drying mineral oil, so they stay smudgy forever. Even Neo arts, which were reintroduced as a permanent oil pastel, still move after weeks. So I'll be shouting out to one commenter on my last video, Vishneva 2000. She mentioned she actually tested Neo Arts after a month and could still smudge it with a finger. She put it perfectly. Neo Arts are a very nice crayon, but not blendable like oil pastels, and they don't dry. In contrast, the R&F Drawing Oils set over time. So I think this how long do they dry is very different compared to people because we all live in different environments. Although R&F has a drawing oils chart where they tell you which pigment specifically dries faster or slower and so forth. There's a great video by Helen Cryer. She also commented, thank you so much. She has a great video that I'll link down in the description below where she tested all the colors and wrote out the drying times. And she said that the John Brilliant, Cad Orange, Egyptian Violet, Midnight Blue, Sap Green, Chromium Oxide Green, Permanent Green, Mars Red, and Mars Black, she said those kind of tend to take more time drying. So yeah, go check out her video. It's very informative. So 5 things you should know about drawing oils. Let's get into it. Number 1 being they're basically like oil pastels that dry and oil sticks that you can work on paper. Simply said, I think a lot of artists out there who haven't reached out for these supplies are kind of wondering, where do they lie? What are they like? You know, and we don't want to like just buy everything out there when they come out because we can get kind of put down with the fact that, oh, it didn't work for this or that. So just keep that in mind. I thought that might be helpful. So these are like middle child between oil pastels and oil sticks. That's how I would put it. Softer than oil sticks, but firmer than Sennelier. They did feel really similar to the Caran d'Ache Neopastels that I have, but with that one big difference is that they cure over time. And another commenter did mention that they have excellent light fastness, but I'll have to check with these myself, like the drawing oils, to actually see how they fade over time. Because this is the thing, although like even with like Daniel Smith, when I actually did the light fast test, I found out that the ones that they were like, oh, it's excellent rating, were actually not. So I'm quite skeptical around that area. So I might do my own test. It's better to like know if they actually are by testing with the colors that you have, so you have legit information. So number 2 is you don't need to varnish them, but you need to prime them. Or maybe I should say it's better if you've primed them. if you're considering it to be archival on paper. So R&F says varnish isn't required, they'll dry naturally, but they also recommend if you want your piece to be archival, you should prime your surface. So if you're working on paper and care about longevity, then I would say you need to prime it. So I'll share with you something, but this one was basically primed. It's just a paper, like a not such a good quality paper, and this one is without any sort of priming. So I primed this with like gesso, like transparent gesso, and this one without, and you can see the difference. So if you care about longevity, then I would suggest you kind of use a clear gesso like I did for this one. But if you don't really care, it's in a sketchbook piece that you just want to keep in your sketchbook and you don't mind at all what happens to it, then you don't have to prime it. So this kind of connects to the number 3, surface matters. I mean, surface matters for every form of drawing, painting that you do, but you could see the difference here. Obviously, I can't always create the same exact look, but I did use the same eye for this, and basically this is primed, this is not primed, but you see the difference. So I tested both primed and unprimed paper, and on primed paper it was super smooth, painterly, blends like oil, like I could feel that, you know. But when it came to the unprimed surface, it was more crayon-like texture, and it had more grip and more control, I would say, weirdly. And although it didn't like catch on that oil, I really enjoyed working on a non-primed surface. That was just my opinion. So personally, I prefer unprimed surface. I would say they both have their strengths. Now, having that said, I really suggest you try out both surfaces and see it for yourself, because I think what I might do in my future paintings, because I'm a watercolor artist, I probably would be like, okay, I'm not going to prime the surface because I need to use watercolor, but at the end, if I do want to add you know, these drawing oils, I might prep the surface with the gesso and just make the areas that I want to cover it with the primed gesso, so then it's archival and it works. So I might put a varnish over on top of that, but I'll have to think about like which way is better and experiment with that, which could be a possible future video. But yeah, that's what I'm planning to do. Number 4. Some pencils work beautifully while others don't. Now let me tell you a bit about what I mean. So here I've got all the pencils that I used. So I tried Polychromos, Luminance, Pastel Pencil, and even a gel pen. Polychromos cut in really well, dry or semi-wet, and Luminance blended nicely when oils were fresh, but not so when it kind of dried. Pastel Pencils, chalky and didn't lay down on dry layers or even wet layers. If you want crisp detail, go with the Polychromos is what I would suggest. And even pencils really work. So in my other drawing oils video, I already shared some experiments that I did with them using pencils and whatnot. This is from my my Skillshare class. I'd probably be doing like a drawing oil, more relaxed theme rather than portraits that I really do on a daily basis. But I will be sharing something like this. I'm still working on the idea, but something connected with the Japanese culture. So pencils look lovely. Polychromos worked very well, and I just like made a cross and a triangle mark for those that didn't quite. Acrylic laid beautifully on top of it, works well. But I think you have the question, well, you can't get into details, right? Answer is you can. So let me share you 5 ways of creating detail. With a bit sneaky one I'll put in is using the drawing oils just straight as it is, trying to create a very fine point. Like I know it's difficult, I know, but just try to see what's the thinnest point you can create with these. Because sometimes we kind of think, oh, I just can't do it, and then you don't give it a shot to creating as much different textures with these mediums that you have. So just experiment, see how tiniest dotty line you can get, or like a circle that you can get. So number 2 is using this tool that I'm using right here. I'll have all the art supplies in the description below for you to check it out.
but this tool is quite useful. I tap it into the drawing oil and then try to get as much pigment, and then I lay that directly on the drawing to get those thin line details, and it kind of works. You'll have to practice doing this and get the hang of it. Number 3, as mentioned in number 4, using pencil and Polychromos really work, which are great tools that you probably have around to use. In number 4, using acrylic or oil paint on top of the drawing oils with a paintbrush, with a very fine pointed thin brush. And number 5, using a palette knife. I really like this. I just kind of go back to the feeling of using oils. It's very close. And just tapping in, like cutting off a bit of that pigment off the drawing oils is so satisfying. And then applying that directly on wherever you want to get those fine details. This really works when you want to add some depth and textures to it, like impasto painting kind of style. So yeah, I really love that. So you should give it a shot. But there's number 1 way that I'll probably keep going back time and time again. That tip, I'll be sharing it in my next video.